Good morning, folks. I think this one is interesting. A number of articles, predictions about the economic collapse. Everything new under the sun here. If you want to understand why I think economic collapse is coming, this is from my keynote, and those of you who have watched my videos are familiar with my keynote, which is, I don't know, I've got a lot of slides now, probably 40 slides, dealing with all the parts of Bible prophecy and how I think they come together. Now, this is why I think the economic collapse must come first. If we go to this here, let me just pull this up. You can see this is kind of my timeline, and this is my Mark of the Beast image slide. You can kind of see the timeline here. I think 2021 is a good year in or around there for the kickoff of the 7-year period. It will be 3.5 years of tribulation and 3.5 years of wrath. And I think Isaiah 17 and Ezekiel 38 will be fulfilled, at least an initial fulfillment, maybe multiple fulfillment or dual fulfillment. But the first fulfillment coming prior to that. And I think what one of the reasons which gives Gog, Magog, Russia, and allied nations the confidence and the ability to proceed and invade Israel is a lack of existing world superpowers, i.e. the United States, as an example, which is a balancing power and the rest of the West in the Middle East. And so I think the current world superpowers are removed from power in some fashion. And I think the easy way that occurs prophetically is that a world economic collapse happens, and that immediately takes it all Western nations, those who are governed, and are democracies, etc. Those will absolutely collapse if the economy failed again. Whereas military dictatorships would be left standing to a large extent. The people will have hard times, but they will still be ruled by a government with an iron fist, and money will be consolidated. The governments will be propped up themselves because they're a military dictatorship or they're communist like China. And so those ones will be the countries left standing, and those are the countries that seem to be involved in the Gog-Magog invasion. And so here is here's why I believe that economic collapse must come first. Ezekiel 38, Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish, with all the young lions thereof, say unto thee, Art thou come to take a spoil? Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to take away silver and gold? To take away cattle and goods, to take a great spoil. Why are they taking all this? Maybe because they're lacking it. Maybe because they're lacking money. Maybe because they're lacking food and water, and that's why they're taking away the cattle and the goods. Revelation 13 says, And I beheld a great beast coming up out of the earth, that had 2 horns like a lamb, and spake as a dragon. He exercises all power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and all of them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of man, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles, it says. Further down in verse 16 it says, And he, and he causes all, both great, small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or foreheads, that no man might buy or sell save he that has a mark. Now we talk about this mark of the beast. Now, who in their right mind is going to accept this mark of the beast right now while there's a world economy set up, there's fiat currencies, each country has their own? Who's going to accept the mark of the beast right now? Wouldn't it be a perfect time during or just after an economic collapse to switch over to a mark of the beast system, a digital system? Now, Mark Carney just suggested that. Let me actually pull Mark Carney. Yes, here it is right here. I'll just pull up this article here, and then we'll take a look at it. This is from zerohedge.com, and I will switch over to this. Mark Carney now is, and he used to be, the top banker for Canada, and he went to the UK, Britain, and he is now the top banker there, the Bank of England governor. And he is basically suggesting that the world, when the current fiat currencies collapse, that the world move over to a digital economy, to a digital economic system. In unprecedented, shocking proposal, the Bank of England's Carney urges replacing dollar with Libra-like reserve currency. So the current reserve currency is the U.S. greenback. But he's suggesting when the system collapses to move to a Libra-like reserve currency. Libra is Facebook's digital currency. After Jerome Powell's neutral to slightly dovish but mostly boring speech Friday morning, investors could be forgiven for suspecting that the year's Fed-sponsored gathering at Jackson Hole might be disappointingly dull, it says. Then along came former Goldman banker and current outgoing Bank of England Governor Mark Carney, who is, with his lunchtime address, laid out a shocking radical proposal, perhaps the most stunning thing to ever be revealed at Jackson Hole, urging to replace the U.S. dollar with Libra-like reserve currency in a dramatic revamp of the global monetary, financial, and economic order. He is basically saying, you know what, let's go to a mark of the beast system. Let's get that set up, and when the economic collapse happens, when a fiat currency such a collapse occurs, let's not move over to another fiat currency. Let's go ahead and replace it with digital currency. And here's the slide, which shows the steps to the mark of the beast. Interest rates head to zero. Where are we heading right now? We're heading to zero as economic woes continue. Interest rates go negative to further help markets. In many locations around the world, interest rates are going negative. What happens then? People are going to start pulling their money out of the bank because they're not making any money. And in fact, the money that they have in the bank is decreasing. So they put their money under their bed, under their pillows. What happens then? The governments then restrict the use of cash because they don't want people pulling their money out of the banks. This is going to collapse all the banks, which they don't want. And so the government outlaws the use of cash, calling it criminal, and saying, you know what, if you're an upstanding citizen, you're just going to use digital currency anyways. And that's number 5. The government removes cash altogether and creates an electronic, cashless system. This is what we see happening. So predictions. I was going to do a longer article, but let's look at this one. Elizabeth Warren from CNBC warns the lights are flashing for the next economic crash. She says, warning lights are flashing. She's predicting economic collapse. Whether it's this year or next year, 2019 or 2020, the odds of another economic downturn are high and growing, Warren wrote in a post on a blogging platform, Medium. So basically, Warren wrote that a failure to raise the debt ceiling in September, which is next month, a couple days from now, could be more catastrophic than the 2008 collapse of the Lehman Brothers. So Elizabeth Warren is predicting economic collapse this year, end of this year, or 2020. All right, but who is Elizabeth Warren in terms of predicting what's going to happen in the economy? Let's look at this one. WorldFinancialReview.com, the predicted 2020 global recession. This is coming upon us. And when this occurs, Mark Carney is suggesting that we all move to a digital currency, a non-fiat based currency, a digitally based mark of the beast style economy. All right, there's been much speculation in the press about the impending global crash and the fallout it will cause, it says. The author analyzes some of the reasons being given from some of the most well-known economists of the world and has some bad news for us all. The predicted 2020 global recession might be optimistic, it says. The predictions are now coming in thick and fast. It appears that this is a foregone conclusion that 2020 is a date that Crash 2.0 will... that the Crash 2.0 will wreak havoc once again. So here are some more predictions. The Independent. Next global financial crisis will strike in 2020, warns investment bank JP Morgan. The 2020s might be the worst decade in the history of the U.S., triggered by a contagion from a global credit crisis. That's from Forbes. Mark Zanni, chief economist at Moody's, said 2020 is the real inflection point. Nouriel Roubini, professor at New York University Stern School of Business, a senior economist for international affairs in the White House during Clinton administration, has also worked with the IMF, the U.S. Federal Reserve, and the World Bank. Roubini predicts the current global expansion will continue into the next year, but warns that conditions will be ripe for a global recession in 2020. I think it could even happen before that. So lots of predictions. 2020 is now the outlook. Remember in 2018 we predicted 2019 to be the year of the collapse. Now everybody's looking at the situation saying, well, 2020, the next year is it. It seems as if we're kicking the can, and the World Banks and the International Monetary Fund and the Federal Reserve, they are kicking the can. They're attempting to kick the can as far as they can down the road, putting this off, printing money, quantitative easing, lowering interest rates. This is what we've seen over the past year. But this is coming, and they can't kick it off. They can't put it off forever, and trouble is coming. And so it's very interesting that Mark Carney is suggesting to the world that we move to a digital currency system. This is exactly what is predicted in the Bible. This is going to come after the economic collapse, which I think is coming up very shortly. And it's probably going to be prior to the year 2021. And note that these people are predicting collapse or a significant recession in the year 2020, the year before 2021, and the Antichrist figure is going to come in and implement this mark of the beast system, which means the economic collapse probably happens months prior to 2021, to the start of the 7-year period. And so this seems to me like it's a pretty interesting line in the sand, and it looks like we're getting very, very close to this. So could it happen this year, September? Could very well. When it does happen, I think events are going to happen in quick, rapid succession. We're not going to be waiting months or years for the next prophecies to occur, or to be fulfilled, rather. We're not going to be waiting months and years for the wars. I think when these things start going down, we're going to see economic collapse, bang. We're going to see war, bang. We're going to see Isaiah 17, Ezekiel 38, bang, bang. And these things are going to start going down like dominoes, one right after the other. So it's in quick succession. So it makes sense to me that it's going to kind of wait and delay up until the we get very close to the start of the 7-year period, whenever that starts exactly. And I suspect it starts around 2021. So it's going to be very interesting in the months ahead as we watch this, as things get more turbulent right now, as we're watching on the stock market. Stock markets ended down about 600 points. Yeah, 623 points down. They left off Friday. So big drop in stock markets. And like I say, we're not even into September, October timeframe. So it could very well be that it's happening now. And now is the time to be prepared. So I'll warn you now, be prepared for a significant crisis, significant recession with all these trade tariffs happening. Remember, that was the starting point, the trigger point of the Great Depression in 1929, and this is happening all over again with Trump raising tariff rates on China goods in response to the whole trade war retaliation. So that's all on CNBC.com. So thanks for watching, guys. We're getting very, very close. Exciting times to be alive, perilous times, and biblical times to be sure. We'll see you guys in the next video.